choose a banana, it's like I have penis envy, or what happens? Like, if I choose like a passion fruit, it means something.
Do you have penis envy? I think you have little penis envy? Listen, if you're going to envy a penis, at least envy a big one.
Talk shows have given us some of the most genuinely funny, completely unplanned, and utterly human moments in the history of television. And the best ones are never the ones that were scripted or rehearsed or carefully planned by a production team. The best ones are the moments where something unexpected happens, where a guest says something that comes out completely wrong, where a host loses all professional composure, or a joke lands in a direction nobody anticipated, or where two people in a studio create something so spontaneous and real that no writer in the world could have put it on a page. These are the moments that people clip and share and re-watch decades later, not because they were produced well, but because they were genuinely, authentically human. There is something deeply satisfying about watching famous, polished, carefully managed television personalities suddenly become completely normal people, having completely uncontrollable reactions to whatever is happening in front of them. That is what this collection is all about, the moments where the script went out the window and something far more entertaining took its place. Before we get into all of it, if you enjoy content that celebrates the funniest and most unscripted moments from the golden age of talk show television, please take a second right now to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We are building something genuine here, a community of people who love great entertainment and the kind of honest, unfiltered television moments that you simply cannot manufacture. Every like and every new subscriber helps this channel grow and helps us keep bringing you exactly this kind of content. So join us, hit subscribe, and let us get into some of the most memorable moments in talk show history. Let us start with something that perfectly captures the accidental comedy that talk shows produce so reliably. Sue Johanson was a guest who had a very particular talent for making conversations about sensitive and usually awkward topics feel completely natural and even educational. She had a way of discussing things with such complete, matter-of-fact confidence that the audience never quite knew whether to be shocked or to laugh, and usually ended up doing both at the same time. Her segment tackled the age-old question of whether size matters, with a combination of clinical authority and total shamelessness that left the host and audience in a state of delighted disbelief. She explained her position on the matter with precise anatomical detail, pointed out exactly which parts of human anatomy actually matter for the purposes of enjoyment, and delivered the whole thing with the calm authority of someone who had given this particular lecture many times before and found nothing remotely embarrassing about any of it. The audience did not know whether to applaud or cover their faces, and ended up doing a bit of both. Conan O'Brien features prominently in any collection of this kind because Conan has a particular weakness that makes for extraordinary television. He is genuinely quick, genuinely smart, and genuinely skilled at holding a conversation, and yet certain guests have a completely destabilizing effect on him that no amount of professional experience seems to be able to prevent. His interview with Jennifer Tilly is one of the most talked about examples. From the moment the interview started, it was clear that Conan was not operating in his usual level of functionality. He started sentences and lost them. He made observations about the studio temperature. He commented on a microphone in a way that went in a direction he clearly had not intended, and then had to spend a moment recovering from the reaction that followed. He told the audience directly that he had not had anything better to do, but was fairly sure they had, which was his way of acknowledging that what was happening on screen had already gotten away from him. He complimented her dress repeatedly, as if the dress were the safest possible topic to anchor himself to. He asked whether she had seen a particular film, and when she confirmed she had, he went on a small tangent about people who claimed to have seen films they have not actually seen, which had nothing to do with anything, and was clearly just his brain searching desperately for somewhere neutral to land. The audience loved every second of it, because watching Conan be completely unable to function normally is genuinely funnier than almost anything he could have planned. David Letterman had his own share of moments where professionalism gave way to something much more entertaining. Sharon Stone, who was newly engaged at the time of her appearance, wasted absolutely no time in creating chaos. Within moments of sitting down, she made a movement that Letterman immediately misread in the most spectacular fashion, announcing to the audience that he thought she was removing her trousers, and now they had a real show on their hands. Stone did not miss a beat. She told him she was simply adjusting something, and that no, he did not want her to do what he seemed to be implying. Letterman told her that was different from saying she wouldn't do it, which was a distinction the audience appreciated enormously. The whole exchange took about 30 seconds and packed more genuine chemistry and quick-witted comedy into it than most scripted segments manage in 10 minutes. Stone had a gift for walking right up to the line and then standing there with complete confidence while everyone else scrambled to catch up.
Halle Berry appeared on Letterman's show on more than one occasion and produced memorable moments each time. On one visit, Letterman congratulated her on her engagement and asked whether being engaged made her feel any different about herself. Berry said that it did, and Letterman responded by announcing that his days of senseless pining for her were therefore officially over. Berry's reaction, a combination of amusement and mild alarm, was perfect. Letterman then admitted he had been married once himself for 10 years and noted that he had hoped perhaps that he and Berry might have had children together, at which point he told the audience goodnight, as if the interview had reached its natural conclusion right there. On another visit, Berry mentioned that her husband had attended a film she had made that involved a particularly intense scene, and his only comment afterward was that he had been able to see saliva on her chin from where he was sitting in the audience. Letterman's response to this was that this was exactly what husbands ought to be doing, and that it probably explained why the husband was in the position he was in. The audience went completely wild. Johnny Carson had a reputation for keeping things elegant and controlled, which made the moments when he allowed himself a genuinely risky joke all the more memorable. During one interview, a female guest was talking about how naive she had been when she was younger, and how she could have easily been taken advantage of. Carson listened carefully, and then, with his absolute trademark deadpan timing, noted that tonight might be the first time that happened to her. The pause before the audience responded was brief but perfect, that tiny moment where everyone processed what had just been said before the laughter erupted. Carson was one of the few hosts who could make a joke like that and have it land as charming rather than inappropriate, purely because of the precision of the delivery. Another guest, Jennifer Tilly, left him noticeably distracted during her appearance. She mentioned that people had wanted her to pose topless for a publication, but that she had declined. Carson looked at her with genuine puzzlement and said it was very hard to tell whether she had or not, which sent the audience into complete uproar. The moment involving Arsenio Hall and RuPaul is one of the more perfectly constructed accidental double meanings in talk show history. RuPaul was discussing the possibility of a doll modeled after herself, explaining that it would probably come with various add-on accessories. Arsenio Hall, maintaining a completely straight face, looked at her and asked the one question that was on everyone's mind, which was what exactly you would pull to make the doll talk. The audience absolutely lost it. Neither of them broke character particularly, which only made the moment funnier, because the joke landed so cleanly and with such perfect timing that there was almost nothing to add to it. Heather Locklear demonstrated on one occasion that she had absolutely no filter whatsoever, which made for an interview that moved in directions nobody had anticipated. She discussed the engineering challenges of certain items of clothing she had been required to wear for her television work, explaining that the costumes were cut in such a way that sitting normally was essentially impossible without creating a situation that would have been immediately edited out. She referenced Sharon Stone without prompting, which got an immediate reaction. She also offered a sharp and unsolicited assessment of a former boyfriend's romantic history, suggesting that he had a pattern of dating women before their brains had fully developed, which she delivered with such cheerful directness that the audience was not entirely sure whether to be shocked or to applaud. They went with applause. Paulina Poroskova gave Letterman one of the sharpest exchanges of his career. She was discussing the modeling industry and acknowledged with complete candor that models are generally vain, shallow, and superficial. Letterman asked whether she included herself in that description. She said of course not, because she did not think of herself as a model. Letterman, slightly puzzled, asked what she did think of herself as.
She looked at him, said simply, "a human being," and told him she would see him there, implying it was a destination he might not yet have reached. The audience went wild, and Letterman sat with the reaction for a moment, which was the right move, because sometimes the best response to a perfect line is no response at all. Gemma Chan's moment with Morgan Freeman is one of the more subtle entries in this collection, but no less effective for that. Freeman had been explaining to her something about eye contact in film acting, discussing where you focus your gaze during a close-up scene. He demonstrated by looking directly into her eyes in the way he was describing. Chan's response to this was involuntary and completely visible. She became noticeably flustered in a way that she was fully aware of and slightly embarrassed by, which Freeman acknowledged with a small smile and the suggestion that perhaps they would return to the subject a little later. The whole exchange lasted about 10 seconds and said everything it needed to say without anyone having to spell it out. Cassandra Peterson, best known as the character Elvira, managed to produce one of the most spectacular accidental double meanings in the history of Carson's show. She was describing the kinds of films that appeared on her program, listing titles that were low-budget horror films from earlier decades. She mentioned one title, and then, apparently losing track of the exact name mid-sentence, asked whether Carson had seen The Head with Two Things or The Thing with Two Heads, depending on which version of the title was correct. The studio came completely apart. Carson's expression of controlled delight was exactly what the moment required, and Peterson herself seemed to process what she had just said a moment after saying it, which only made the reaction bigger. Conan's conversation with Heather Graham took an interesting turn when he opened up about his Catholic upbringing and admitted that it had left him with some personal repression around certain topics. Graham, who had a particular interest in affirmations and positive self-talk, suggested that the way to overcome a fear or a block was to say the opposite of what you believed about yourself out loud. She gave him a specific affirmation to try. Conan attempted it, produced something that came out sounding nothing like what she had suggested, and the audience reacted immediately. Graham looked at him with a mixture of amusement and mild concern. Conan looked at the audience, looked back at Graham, and acknowledged that perhaps he had more work to do in that area than he had initially thought. Joan Rivers and Betty White, appearing on the same program, always produced a particular kind of electricity that very few comedy pairings can match. Both of them had been in the business long enough to have no fear of anything and sharp enough to find the angle in any situation. Their exchanges had the quality of two people who had earned the right to say exactly what they thought and were going to take full advantage of that right. The rhythm of their back and forth, the speed of the comebacks, the complete absence of any defensiveness on either side made their interactions feel less like talk show segments and more like watching two professionals demonstrate what comedy actually looks like when it is working perfectly. The full picture of what makes these moments so enduringly entertaining is that none of them were planned. Every single one happened because real people were put in a room together with cameras rolling, and something genuinely unexpected occurred. The best talk show television has always been the stuff that nobody could have written in advance. The accidental phrase, the involuntary reaction, the perfectly timed silence, the joke that lands in a direction nobody anticipated. These moments remind you that the most entertaining thing on television has always been real human beings being real human beings, and that no amount of scripting or preparation can fully replicate what happens when something genuinely surprises everyone in the room at the same time. If you enjoyed this collection of the funniest and most unscripted moments from talk show history, please subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. We are building a community of people who love this kind of genuine, unfiltered entertainment, and we are working hard to keep finding the best moments from the world of television. Drop your favorite moment in the comments below and let us know which one got you the most. We will see you in the next one.